one of the classical conversations we've been talking about, not today but before, is the topic of meaning and what is meaning. The Arabic term being ma'ni. What does that term mean to you?
The English word meaning is almost untranslatable. So Hebrew, for example, doesn't have that word. Most languages don't have it. So there's lots of philosophical literature about the meaning of meaning, but it's completely meaningless question. That's a term of English which has a complex usage. Aspects of it we can begin to study, and that's not unusual. Ask yourself, suppose you ask a physicist, what's the meaning of energy? Well, they'll give you a technical definition of the way the word, not the concept, energy is used in physics. It has a kind of a loose relationship to the way we use the term in our language, but it's not the same term. In fact, as soon as the sciences begin to develop, they depart from ordinary usage by constructing terms and concepts that are that move towards being well-defined, more precise, don't have the richness and complexity of the terms of ordinary language, which are almost undefinable. I mean, you can describe them, but you can't define them.
Mm-hmm.
You look in the Oxford English Dictionary for a definition of the term of the most simple words, river, house, tree. It just gives you hints, gives you a few hints about what it might be. The full meaning of these terms is coming out of your inner nature. When children acquire words, the meaning of words, what they're actually learning is, which sound do I assign to this concept that's in my mind? Now, where those rich concepts in the mind came from, we have no idea. But they're there, and they're apparently a common human possession.
No, here, building off, Plato's cave allegory, where meaning is, words that we see are sort of like the shadows, and meaning is some pointing to some higher, or for lack of a better term, a metaphysical, non-physical entity.
The only difference is I would introduce Locke's observation. It's not a metaphysical entity. It's something in our biology,
mm-hmm.
which in principle we can study. It's coded in your brain somehow, not out there in the world.
Any other things you'd like to add? I know you've been very gracious with your time, and I know you just had a 92nd birthday, so happy birthday. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I think I'll add one of my favorite observations. It goes back to the scientific revolution, 17th century, Galileo and his contemporaries. The scientific revolution really began when people like Galileo were willing to be puzzled about things that seemed to have obvious explanations. So you go back to the reigning neo-scholastic philosophy, had an answer to almost everything. Why does a rock fall and steam rise? Because they're going to their natural place. Why does the two objects attract or repel each other? Because they have sympathies and antipathies, and so on. There was an answer to everything, no real problems. Galileo and his contemporaries asked why. They were puzzled as to why this happens. They want to get rid of what were called occult ideas, words that basically had no content. Very much like saying that human behavior is a matter of habit and training and conditioning. Those are occult ideas. They tell you almost nothing about what happens. New sentences are formed by analogy. It's just a occult idea. Modern linguistics started with the same attitude. Let's ask some questions about it. When you ask, everything falls apart. You thought you knew everything. Turns out you know nothing. That's an amazing change. And one of the things that Galileo and his contemporaries looked at was language. And they expressed their awe and amazement at a miraculous fact. And it is. Somehow, with a couple of dozen symbols, we can construct in our minds infinitely many thoughts, novel thoughts, unbounded, and we can even find ways of conveying to others who have no access to our minds, conveying to others the innermost workings of our minds. Galileo himself thought that the alphabet was one of the most stupendous human inventions, making it possible to carry out this miracle. I think those are some of the most profound insights into the nature of language. By now we can carve out parts of that problem, which we can study and come to understand. But the core element, the creative element, is beyond our capacity. We may never understand it. It's a mystery that might be beyond the limits of human cognitive capacity.
Yeah, it reminds me of Maimonides' Guide of the Perplexed. And people thought, well, is this book going to lead us out of our state of perplexity? But really what he was arguing was that we should become comfortable with perplexity, and we should be comfortable being in this place where we just cannot know, but we can maybe pursue the knowledge of things. So it's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I look forward to looking at these responses closely, and also we'll be putting this together as a volume based on the conversations we had with the other professors that presented at the meeting last year, and hopefully you'll be able to take a look at what we transcribe and then also give us some edits.
Okay, hope so. Look forward to it.
All right, thank you so much. Have a good evening.
It's good to talk to you.
All right, bye-bye.
All right.